Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited because today is a special day. I am going to share with you guys how God was so faithful in answering my prayers for my labor and delivery. In light of Zoe's birthday coming up in a few days, first of all, where did this year go? I have no idea how fast it went. This time around, oh my goodness, 2019 flew by. So yeah, here we are, just a couple days away from her first birthday. I look back at this girl's life and I'm just in awe of God's hand upon her life from the very beginning, from finding out about her to the amazing pregnancy, to the labor and delivery, and even how her name came to be, you guys. So I just wanted to share with you today my birth story. So let's take it back a little bit. So Zoe was our complete surprise baby. Honest to God, she was not planned by us. After having Olivia, I was only 6 months postpartum. Literally, you guys, I still remember the day, the one time that our birth control method failed. I was planning to go get plan B. That was the plan. So our method failed. We were gonna use plan B. That day, you guys, I still remember. I'm gonna have to dig through my text messages. Liv that day was having such a hard day. I couldn't even get out the house until super late. By the time I get to family planning, it's super late. I get seen and they say that they will send the prescription to my pharmacy. So I go to my pharmacy and they're like, it's not here. And I'm like, what do you mean? So they're looking for it in the system. They're like, oh, it's not here, it's in the other pharmacy, literally across the city. So I go all the way across the city to go get the plan B. When I get there, they're like, your insurance is invalid. By the time I get on the phone with my insurance, they're closed because it was after 5 p.m. at this point. And I was so aggravated. But I go pick up Liv from my cousin's house and she's like, Lanice, you're chasing this plan B like crazy. Can't you see that God just wants you to have a baby? And I was just like, girl, you crazy. So then the next day, I go back to the pharmacy. They said that now there's another issue with my insurance. So I called family planning. I'm like, listen, I have been trying to get this since yesterday. They're sending around in circles and they're like, oh, you can just come get it here. And I'm like, you could have gave it to me yesterday. What else? So anyways, I ended up taking the plan B. And la-di-da, went about my life. I was working out, I was feeling good, feeling great, and then I'm just super tired all the time. And I'm like, what's happening here? And I was kind of joking around with Oscar. Well, when I was pregnant with Liv, I was anemic, so I was like, let me just check my, I need to check my blood levels because I feel like I'm super tired. I'm working out and eating healthy, so there shouldn't be a reason for me to feel tired. Completely forgetting about our mishap a couple months ago. And because I'm thinking the plan B is all set, you know what I'm saying? So and then I was joking, I was like, oh, tell your brother to bring home a pregnancy test from the dollar store because he worked at the dollar store. And he's like, okay. And it was a joke. So the next morning he tosses pregnancy tests at me and I'm like, what is this? He's like, oh, you asked for them. I was like, oh, I was joking. I'm gonna go to the doctor's to get my blood work done because I'm probably still anemic. So anyways, I was like, oh, let me just take it, just joking around. So I took the pregnancy test and before I could even set it down, I see the 2 lines and I was just like, excuse me. Honestly, you guys, I did not react well. I was not only surprised, I was complete shock. I swore more that day. I'm ashamed. I swore more that day than I did in the past 3 years collectively. It was just swear. And I was just in I think my body was in shock and I was in panic mode. And I remember Oscar came Oscar came to the bathroom and he had Liv in his hip and he's like, no. And I'm swearing, I'm flipping, I'm like, get me another one. So then he gets me another one and I took it and obviously it's positive. And I was just so shook in that moment because I had such a rough pregnancy with Liv. I was super sick all the time. And I was just thinking, looking at her, poor little thing, 6-month-old baby. I'm looking at her, well, by this time she was 8 months. And I was like, how am I supposed to take care of her while I'm like super sick again. Like I can't do that. Like I had so many like physical like challenges when I was pregnant with Liv. Like I had to go to physical therapy. I was just sick all the time. It was just like one thing after another, and I just didn't feel good, and I didn't feel like I looked good, and I just didn't like my pregnancy at all. So I was not looking forward to being pregnant again. And then I just looked at Liv. She was like so little. I'm like, I'm making you grow up. Like I was so sad. So I was just like freaking out, and I at that time we lived at Oscar's. We rented from the second floor from Oscar's parents' house, and they had a prayer room in the attic, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go pray. And I went to go pray, and I had no words. I literally had no words, and I was just crying. And then next thing I know, like Oscar came in, bless his soul, and he was just like, this is not the time for you to be alone. And he prayed over me, like, oh man, he just anointed me and like prayed over me and like spoke life into me again. And I just realized like we'd be okay. Like we'd be okay. God provided once, he would do it again. And so it took me a little bit to get excited. It took me a little while to get excited. Honestly, like a few things that I was thinking about, I was like, I was worried about how my body would carry a pregnancy again. And I was also worried about what people would think. It sounds so silly now that I look back at it, but I was just like, you know, they're like, everybody's gonna be like, you literally just had a baby, what the heck. I'm like, I'm gonna invite people to my baby shower and they'd be like, we just were at one. Those were like my main concerns. I was definitely worried about what others would say, because I didn't think having 2 under 2 was so common as it is. So yeah, anyways, got over that stage, and I ended up having the most amazing pregnancy ever. Honestly, like Zoe's pregnancy, I felt so beautiful. I didn't have any pain. I wasn't sick. I was super tired, but like I was never nauseous. And I genuinely felt so beautiful. Like I enjoyed my pregnancy so much with her, and that definitely was a prayer point that we had, was that I didn't want to be sick. I felt like I had a baby to take care of, like, you know what I mean? And I felt really ugly for Liv's pregnancy. So just being able to like fully enjoy, like, you know, when people say like you had that glow, oh my gosh, I felt that for this time with Zoe. So that was such a prayer point for me, and God came through. And then Zoe was breached for a while, like right before I was supposed to have her. So they were about to schedule me for a C-section, and I kind of freaked out about that because I've never had major surgery. And again, I had a toddler at home that I needed to take care of, a baby still at home. So I was a little nervous about that. And I remember Oscar's mom was like, have you prayed about it? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And she was like, well, like come over, and I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna pray with you. She has a prayer blanket. She anointed me with oil, and she prayed over Zoe. And the next appointment that I went to, Zoe was turned. She was in the correct position. So I was like, wow, praise God, just another prayer point that he just came through. And it was just so amazing, because it went from like, you know, this was not my plan whatsoever, and God just kept showing up and showing out, you know. So we were super excited about that. And then January 25th, that was my due date. Nothing's happening. January 26th, I started feeling some contractions late at night, and I was really I guess annoyed. I was really annoyed that I was having contractions late at night, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep and rest if I'm going to, like, you know, give birth within the next few days. Another thing with Liv, I was in labor from Thursday, and I didn't have her till Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at like 6 p.m. That's a long time to be in labor, you guys. I don't know how, you let me know how long you were in labor, but for me, I was like a little traumatized with what happened with Olivia. So I was like, I was annoyed that I wasn't sleeping at night, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to rest for the next few days, just thinking I'm gonna be in labor for the next few days. So I was just like really annoyed, and I was like, probably super emotional, and I told Oscar that, and then he just like rubbed my head as I was laying on the couch, and I knocked out. And then the next morning I woke up and he's like, did you sleep? And I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, I prayed for your contractions to stop and so you can get some rest. And I was like, look at that, Jesus, again. Like, and then that's when, like, after when I woke up and I took a shower and my contractions started to come, and I was walking around with Olivia. She was just like holding on to me, and like we were just going through it together, and it was painful, but it was definitely tolerable at that point. And so I went to my mom's house, and then Oscar was like, oh, do you want to go to the hospital with Liv? I had another bad experience with Liv. I was in labor at home all of Thursday and Friday. I went to the hospital on Friday and they sent me back home. I was so discouraged by that because it had already been 24 hours of me being in pain. So at that point I was just like, you know what? With Zoe, I was like, oh, I should probably just wait because they're probably gonna send me back home. My mom's like, oh, just go and you'll see what happens, you know. If they send you home, they send you home. I'm like, okay, that's fine. At noon, and I went into the hospital, and they checked me. They were checking the monitor and stuff, and they were like, well, your contractions are still between, I think it was like 8 minutes apart. So she was like, I don't think the doctor's gonna keep you, but hold on and let me check. So I was just already getting ready to go home, but then I sat there in that bed and I'm like, God, I do not want to go through this again. Like, I do not want to feel all of that pain at home. Like, I want to be here by the time that like I can get the epidural to get it, because I do not want to feel this pain. That was literally, I was praying. I was like, God, just let them keep me. Whether it makes sense or not, on medical papers, just let them keep me. And then the next thing I know, I see a phlebotomist come in and she draws my blood. And I just looked at her and I was just like, okay, like, I don't know. And then the nurse came in at the same time she's drawing my blood. Well, as she's leaving, she's like, you took her blood? And she was like, yeah. And she was like, the doctor had said she was gonna go home. And then she checks the computer real quick, and the phlebotomist was like, well, I got her blood, she has to stay now. And I was like, what? I was like so confused at that point, and the nurse was confused. So she's checking the papers, and she went back to go talk to the doctor, and then she came back, she's like, well, I guess you're staying. And I was just like, praise you, Jesus! I was so excited at this point, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to go labor at home. I can labor here, and then as soon as I want the epidural, I can get it. So that was another thing that God just came through. And at this point, my contractions were still tolerable. Even though they were like 8 minutes apart and they were kind of strong, but they were still tolerable. And to the point that me and Oscar were literally dancing inside. We were dancing inside the hospital just to like speed things up. And then after we were done walking and dancing and all that stuff, I sat down on the little medicine ball thing, and the yoga ball, medicine ball, I don't know what it's called. And I was just doing my bounces, and Oscar's like, you are pretty like happy. And I'm like, I am. God is so faithful. And he was like, you won't be happy for that long, you know what I mean? And I was like, no, I'm honestly believing for a pain-free labor and delivery. And he's like, girl, it says in the Bible that it's painful. And I was like, I know it's painful, but like, I'm believing for a pain-free labor and delivery. And I'm like literally praying for that the whole time. And then so that was like an hour went by, and so the doctor had checked me. I was at 2 centimeters. So after like dancing and walking and walked on the ball for like an hour, the doctor came and checked me, and she was like, oh, you're at 5.5 now. And I was just like, that escalated quickly. And so she's like, you can get an epidural if you want. And I'm like, oh, should I get it now or not, because I'm not in that much pain? And she was like, well, if you are planning to get one, then you should probably get one now, because it's kind of like escalating quickly. So at that point I decided to get the epidural, and it was smooth sailing. I got transferred into the delivery room, and Oscar was just hanging out, and I I put on my headphones and I was just listening to worship music, and I was just praising God. And at that moment I had such an encounter with God, and I was just filled with gratitude. And I was just like, wow, like thinking from the beginning, like she was like not my plan, but definitely God's plan. And I like just thinking everything about her and the whole pregnancy. And I just literally started to cry out of just pure gratefulness, and just my heart just like worshiping him and just thanking him of how much of a faithful father he is. Side note, I feel like this is a very important point here. After I had Liv, I never got a period. So you not having a period means you don't ovulate, right? When I go to my doctor's office and I'm telling him that I'm pregnant, so he's looking at me and he's like, so you're breastfeeding, you don't have a period, and you took plan B and you still got pregnant? All you need to know, girl, is that this baby was definitely meant to be. And I was like, you know what? It's absolutely God's plan. And he's like, God's plan, God's plan. He's like hilarious. But because that song was like popular at that point. So yeah, just she was absolutely hands down God's plan. And so after just basking in gratefulness and just worship, what I should have done after that was sleep. But I think I was like so hyped up that like all of these things were happening, and I was just so like amazed by God that I just stayed awake. I couldn't sleep. I was like too excited. And then we got to 9 centimeters, and that's when I felt a whole lot of pressure. It wasn't pain, but it was a lot of pressure. It was like super uncomfortable at this point, because I had what they call a lip. So like my cervix kept like not like fully dilating. There would be like a little bit that wouldn't fully dilate. So it was like a whole lot of pressure, especially like when she was coming down. And then when it was time to push, I was exhausted. Like I have never ever in my entire life felt so tired the way that I did. And I remember even at some point I was like they're like push, and I was just like, I can't, I literally cannot. And I was like, can I get a C-section at this point? Like literally just like I had not 1 ounce of energy left in me, and I'm like praying for the energy, and I'm just like exhausted at this point. And they're like, you're doing great. And I'm like, you've been saying that for like what seems like forever now. And I remember with Liv, I pushed for 2 hours, you guys. 2 whole hours I pushed. Let me know how long you pushed. But I pushed for 2 whole hours, and I was just like, if I have to push again for that long, like I will pass out. Like I really felt like I was gonna pass out. So we just kept pushing and pushing, and then she came out. Later they told me it was only 30 minutes, but honestly it felt like 5 hours. And once she came out and they put her on my chest, I almost passed out. I really did. Like I literally felt myself like fading away. Like it was just the lack of energy. I had zero, and I had given my everything up in that point. Right now I was just like not a single ounce of energy left in me. And then like I think they gave me something to drink or something. I honestly don't remember at this point. And then I just looked at her and just, my gosh, she was a little perfect little thing. She looked a little Asian. She looked nothing like me. She still doesn't. She was just, I just looked at her like this fair skinned, dark hair little baby with, and I noticed her eyes right away, and I was just like, what? Like, what color are those? And just looking at her and just really feeling her, and just feeling her on my chest. And I just remember just feeling so grateful for like everything from the whole entire journey that I got to experience with God. So we welcome Zoe Ilana into the world at 10:22 p.m. I just lied. So we welcomed Zoe Ilana into the world at 10:44 p.m. I had gone into the hospital around noon, had her at 10:44. Honestly, it was just one of the greatest days ever. I just love her so much, and I'm just so grateful for her. And all of this just made me really realize that God's plans are way better and higher than anything that we can ever think of. I honestly couldn't even imagine my life without her. She completes our family so well. She's our sassy little funny, cuddly, loving, oh my gosh, and the girl loves her mama so much. Oh, I've honestly, like, the way that Zoe loves me is just, I have no words for it. I love that girl so much, and I'm just so grateful for her life. Her life has been such a blessing. My first year with her postpartum was definitely a rough one, but oh man, God, even with that, God has shown me so much. Like, I have grown so much, and even in my walk with him, it's been an amazing journey. So God has shown me, like, I have strength within me that I didn't even know I had. I'm a whole new person than what I was before I had her, never mind even before I had Olivia, you know. So I'm just so grateful, you guys, and I just wanted to share this to encourage you, any mamas out there that you are planning, you're having a baby soon, you're gonna plan to have a baby, or just, you know, you're just watching this just to watch. I just want to encourage you, the power of prayer, and that the scripture is so true, where it says, delight in the Lord and he will give you your heart's desires. Psalms 37:4. You guys, it's so true, and I am so grateful. Even when you think that your prayers are not being answered, they are. When you don't see it, he's working. If you don't feel it, he's working. So I just am here to just testify on that, and I just give all the glory to Jesus, and I just thank you Lord for little Zoe in our lives. So thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this encouraged you.